All right, we wanted to cover something that's unfolding in Iowa. It's part of actually kind of a trend of rolling back child labor law regulations. And I think Iowa is the state that has now passed the most aggressive rollback of child labor regulation. Let's put this up on the screen. More Perfect Union did a deep dive into this, including a video that I recommend you all check out, which tracks the roots of where this rollback came from. And surprise, surprise, it's a lot of business interests, including the National Restaurant Association, a lot of locally powerful business interests in the state as well. So they say, breaking, the Iowa Senate passed a child labor law before dawn today. The bill lets 14-year-olds work 6-hour night shifts, 15-year-olds work on assembly lines, and 16 and 17-year-olds serve alcohol. The Senate went through the night and voted on child labor at 4:52 a.m. I think it's important to note a couple of things here. So first of all, because you have a relatively tight labor market, that's why all of these business interests have suddenly become like obsessively focused in rolling back child labor protections so that they can keep paying the low wages they've become accustomed to paying and not increase wages whatsoever to, try to attract actual adults who should be working in some of these very dangerous jobs, right? It's also important to note Iowa's minimum wage is still $7.25 an hour.
Yes.
So if you can't attract the workers you need for your business without hiring a 14-year-old to work the overnight shift, maybe you should try increasing your wages and see what happens then. Child labor law violations have been up 37% since the pandemic. So even without these rollbacks, companies are taking upon themselves to violate child labor law or look the other way at the very least. And so there's been a huge spike in companies getting caught employing kids, including migrant kids, by the way, and like exploiting the fact that they're in a vulnerable situation. There's a big New York Times expose about that. So it's a very disturbing direction that these states are going in, something that honestly, I mean, it's sort of shocking to see how far they're willing to go. And listen, I had summer jobs when I was 15 years old as well, but they weren't working in like a meat packing plant, cleaning bone saws or an assembly line or construction sites. That's another thing they want to open up to younger and younger kids, was like lifeguarding and working at a like little fish and tackle store. Right, exactly. That was the sort of thing that I was doing over the summer when I was 15 years old, not like working in a meat packing plant, which no 14 or 15-year-old has a business doing.
Yeah, I think we could parse it and say that like if it involves dangerous work, specifically overnight, then I don't think that that's really anything that we should support.
No.
But the one, you and I were talking about this yesterday, like 16 and 17-year-olds serving alcohol, it's like, whatever. Especially the bill even says, that they could do it with the written permission of a parent or guardian. That's good work in many cases, like especially if most of the time you wouldn't even be serving as a bartender, I'm assuming. You'd be serving as like a bar back and then participating in pool tips. So, the wages and the money you can get from that would actually be kind of decent. And I do think that should probably be available to 16 and 17-year-olds. But I think the issue is that the animus behind the bill is about trying to circumvent wages for adults.
Correct.
And that's the problem, which is that they are basically trying to do a backdoor way to pay people even less and open up the labor pool. And in the worst case, we're not even just talking about like illegal immigrants. We're talking about straight up children. And like that's where I think some people should have the objection here, which is we shouldn't be. There's one thing to want to care for kids and to want them to do well and give them access to a job, which I do agree with. Even in construction, if you're not working in a dangerous position, like I think that's fine.
Construction is dangerous, though.
It depends. It depends on the job that you're doing. My point is that giving apprenticeship and all of that is one thing. Trying to game wage law, though, is actually a whole other one.
To me, there are two pieces that are really important here. Number one, the type of dangerous jobs that they want to open up to 14 and 15-year-olds, to me, is absolutely insane. Number two, the fact that they want to increase the number of hours that they can work per week. And we're not talking about just like during the summer. We're talking about during the school year. And there's a lot of research about how anything over basically like 20 hours a week really starts to be very detrimental to kids' grades, ability to focus, ability to get the work done in terms of their schoolwork, which is obviously the most critical thing that you should be, dealing with and focusing on setting yourself up for the future when you're 14 and 15 years old. And then the other piece is, allowing them to work later at night. Again, that has a major impact on their ability to like focus and do what they need to do during the day at school. So those are the pieces that are, to me, unconscionable. I kind of tend to agree with you on the 16 and 17-year-olds serving alcohol. I do want to give the other side of that, though, to play devil's advocate, which is like, okay, well, this is going to put like 16-year-olds in bars with a bunch of intoxicated adults.
There's 18-year-olds in bars with intoxicated adults.
There's a difference between 16 and 18, though. But yeah, I mean, listen, I kind of tend to agree with you on that one. Maybe I'd like to see some more restrictions about, like, I wouldn't want them serving as like a bartender, right? So maybe put some more guardrails around that one. But in terms of assembly lines, meat packing plants, construction, allowing them into these very dangerous jobs, long hours during the school week. And this, again, is not about the interests of these children or their parents or anybody other than the corporate interests who want to keep wages as low as possible. And that's why I pulled this statistic, which I think is important context and backdrop here. Put this next piece up on the screen, which is that we actually had just now, median inflation-adjusted weekly earnings of full-time wage and salary workers were up in the first quarter of 2023, per the latest report. For the first time in 2 years, real wage growth has exited negative territory. So to translate that from kind of econ speak here, this is the first time, even when accounting for inflation in quite a long time, that you've had actual wage growth. So, of course, every corporate interest in the entire country is like, oh my God, we can't have that. We got to keep being able to, pay them pennies at $7.25 an hour, and we got to keep our fat profit margins, which continue to be at literal record levels. So, what's our solution? Since unemployment is super low, well, I guess we're going to have to bring 14 and 15-year-olds into the workforce and allow them to work longer hours and overnight shifts and in dangerous areas.
Yeah, look, in general, I just think an easy workaround to this would be like, make sure you just raise the minimum wage to something decent, and then sure, it's like if kids want to work as barbacks, it's like, that's great. In terms of, as long as you're not trying to circumvent and pay less, I mostly am good with it as long as they're not in a dangerous position. I'm curious what other people think. I honestly don't know. Comment, let us know what you think.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Saagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.